Today on Racers, Trackside report from the Indianapolis 500 with our man Robin Miller. 51 years of either working on cars, scratching them up, or reporting from the Speedway. We just finished the first round of qualifying here. All 33 cars are successfully qualified. We also identified Robin, who will transfer tomorrow into the run for the pole in the Fast 9. What stood out to you in everything that took place today that really piqued your interest, Robin?
Well, we're going to ask you that question because your buddy from your car owner that was from Honda was worried yesterday. Probably didn't have to worry anymore. I guess Andretti's dominance, Honda's dominance, and the fact that Team Penske's nowhere. They're like three stories, all probably about the same value, and the fact that Marco Andretti backed up his 2:33 lap from Friday with the fastest 4-lap average today. But Andretti, Marco and Hunter Ray and Rossi and Hinch being 1 through 4, it was. I think the interesting thing too is that other than Will Power was pretty visibly upset, but the rest of the guy, Newgarden was like, that's about all we had. Pageant was like, yeah, we're not very fast by ourselves, but we're pretty good in traffic. They didn't seem that concerned, but they didn't come out of the, I guess I kept thinking, well, some Chevrolet is going to unleash somebody, and it turned out to be Renus BK, who would have ever dreamed that he would be the fastest Chevy and be the only Chevy in the Fast 9. So to me, it was an interesting day as far as sidebars and interesting stories. Dalton Kellett out qualifies
Fernando Alonso.
Fernando
That's
Alonso.
the question about
gambling. I mean, he did a good, him and Will Phillips, his engineer, they did a good job. So it was a pretty interesting day.
That was going to be my gambling question for you. For sure, you woke up, called Las Vegas, and put tens of thousands of dollars on Canadian rookie Dalton Kellett, who'd never won an Indy Lights race, had never won on the road to Indy. Rookie here with AJ Foyt Racing. Of course, you put money on him out qualifying Arrow Schmidt, Peterson, Arrow McLaren SPs, Fernando Alonso. No, and again, none of that's any disrespect to either one of them, but that to me, Robin, just signified how crazy of a day this was. No Penske's in the Fast 9. First time since 2002. We have not had a Penske car in the top 3 rows. And then you look throughout the field and you go, hey, Ed Carpenter went back out in the afternoon and went a little bit faster. And instead of starting 20th, he's 16th. The rookie kid from Holland in Ed Carpenter Racing is the one Chevy representative inside the Fast 9. You got Penske cars pretty much all towards the back. You got Fernando Alonso, I guess, meeting Dalton Kellett for the first time since they're going to be starting right by one another. I love this about this. This is about the only thing I love about this year, Robin, and tell me if you do as well. You can't predict anything. This is the year that defies prediction.
Well, it's true, and I think the other thing is when you think about, I'm just looking at the board up here. I mean, Dalton Kellett also out-qualified Simon Pagenaud, last year's winner. I mean, you just can't.
Crazy.
So I called AJ because we're pretty much landlocked here. So I called Floyd a little while ago and I said, "Hey, did you threaten that kid's life? What'd you do? That was a hell of a job." And he said, "Well, I told him to be smooth and use his head." And he said he did a good job. And he said Will Phillips is his engineer for our 3rd car every year. And he said, "I'm just proud of those." He says, "I'm proud of my rookie boy." But the other guy that you got to take your hat off to is Alex Palou and his engineer Eric Cowden for Dale Coyne. I mean, he's also in the Fast 9. I mean, here's a guy that's never been around this place before, and he's exactly what Eric has been telling you and I since the Dakota test back in February. This kid is special. He showed it again today.
Let's stay with that for a second, Robin. We rightfully expect, based on his body of work last year, for Santino Ferrucci to just star, to be just on fire come race day. That kid we know is he is the human highlight reel on ovals. This rookie teammate of his, though, Alex Palou, I don't think anyone told him he's supposed to be the young guy who's learning and isn't faster than the sophomore guy with more experience. Tell me about that. Does that surprise you at all, knowing that Santino's working with the super respected engineer Olivier Boisson? We know they're going to be good come race day, but this Palou kid, more than once this year, has kind of taken the lead at Dale Coyne Racing. Another thing we couldn't have predicted.
Well, I heard Paul Tracy say on the NBC broadcast that Santino was pretty upset with the car, and that Vassar was telling him, "Hey, you don't need to be bad mouthing anybody on television or anywhere else. Just calm down. We'll figure this thing out." So maybe there's a little frustration there, and that his teammates waxing him right here in a place he's never been before. But the kid is, he's a kid, so you get emotional and things like that. And he's going to be fun to watch in the race. Right now, what does he start?
19th.
Yeah. So that's just think about we're always talking about in-car cameras for the race, Marshall. Just put them on the four Penske cars and on that kid, and maybe Alonso. I mean, there's so many things to look at and think. Okay, when you think about this, and we talk about domination and all that, when you look at the top, the top 15, the top 16, the top 16 guys all average 230 or better, and it's we're talking about hundreds of seconds here and over 10 miles, so everybody's so close, and it's just a matter of getting your pit stops right and execution and all that. But I think if Marco could win the pole, it's a great thing for IndyCar racing, like we were talking about last night, because he's going to be in headlines all over the country. Newspapers and TV commentators that don't talk about IndyCar racing, Andretti pops up. I think that suddenly gets IndyCar some instant coverage, and I think it would be such a great thing for this series and for this race if he could win this race, because he almost won it as a rookie. He's always been fast here. He's finished second, third, fourth. So I just think that maybe it's his time. I mean, he's been like you said yesterday. He's never been out of the top three all week in practice. And today he goes out in the middle of the day when it's the hottest by 20 degrees. All the fast guys were in the first 90 minutes. And he goes out in the middle of the day and puts the fastest 4 laps together. One of the more impressive runs you're probably ever going to see.
Let's talk about some of the other surprises you observed, Robin. Yesterday we noted Ryan Reinbold racing a little bit. At least I think I did. I'm forgetting. They were unable to find that speed. They have been missing consistently. They're, I think, right now set for the back row. That's a team where we always expect them to shine at some point during the 500. Usually don't have to wait till race day. You think this might be a case of some of the teams that haven't been doing much running, like Dragon Speed as well? Some of the teams with not a lot of reps, maybe struggling in this short and abbreviated Indy 500 schedule?
Well, yeah, probably. And J.R. Hildebrand he's always fast here. So that's got to be it. I think that's got to be a lot of it, is that there hasn't been much testing anyway for anybody. But I think this is one of those deals where you unload and you got a couple days to get the thing up to speed. And poor Hanley, he didn't have a chance. He missed his first. That guy had both hands tied behind his back to him. But when you look at this field and everything, and you think about Ryan Reinbold, it's so hard to do this part-time. And even Ed Carpenter says, just to run the ovals only is not the easiest thing anymore. And if you just come to Indy like Sage does usually every year, and JR, it's not like it was 30 years ago where you could just jump in a car and it'd be magic. I mean, these things are so finely tuned now, and everybody's on top of the game, and the depth of these teams are so unbelievable that you really got to have your act together. And again, they average 227, 226. I mean, it's just isn't it crazy? It sounds slow, but they're starting in the last row, and it's you just think, how do you get out of that hole? Because you're not going to have, you don't have a chance really when you don't have. Tomorrow you got a couple hours, and then you got carb day, and that's it. You got to figure it out and all that. And Sage has had a couple great runs here. JR should have won the thing in 2011. So I don't know. It's tough. You want to see him get a full-time deal going to try and improve on this. But, The one guy that probably deserves a little tip of the hat. I mean, Oliver Askew did a good job, but Pato O'Ward went out as one of the few guys that improved himself with his second or third run later in the day, in the heat of the day, and he looked pretty impressive just watching the in-car camera.
Yeah, he just texted to say that's all they had, and they're proud of what they did. Boy, that kid looks like he has learned so much from last year to this year. Not necessarily on the driving side. We knew that part was good, but just approach, mindset, maturity. He's a totally different character this year. Why don't we close, Robin, on two topics, one of them being Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, first to go out this morning. We had both of their cars not crazy fast like we thought they might be. Scott Dixon, the same thing. He was up pretty soon after. I think between Dixon's Ganassi car and the two Rahal Letterman Lanigan Hondas, it sounds like a little bit of conservative approach was taken since they were, again, among the first to go out. Then we saw some of them come back later in the day. Dixon, it felt like he did about 29 qualifying runs. Graham Rahal had the Code Brown moment at the event with a big feed of opposite lock to catch that oversteer, entering turn 3 at 230 miles an hour. Talk to us about them, knowing that we're going into Fast 9 tomorrow. What do you think? You think they're going to roll the dice and forget the conservative side, or how do you think that's going to play out when we find out who starts on pole?
I don't know. For a while there, you had Graham, Sato, and Spencer Piggott, the third member of the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team. They were all right there lined up 6th, 7th, 8th, or 7th, 8th, and 9th. I mean, for a long time. And Spencer ends up 9, 10. Spencer ends up 12th for his one-off here at Indy. So I think, Sato always hangs it out. And Graham today, his last effort was just like, oh my God. I mean, he said, but I don't know. I think sometimes, Marshall, just getting the Fast 9, does it really matter where you start? If it paid $1 million to win the pole, which it should, and I think Roger Penske will do something about that as time goes on, then who cares? You let it all hang out, you tear the thing up, so what? You got a week to rebuild it, and you're going to go racing. I just don't know that it doesn't matter if you're 2nd or 8th or 5th or whatever. If you win the pole, it's good headlines and it's fun to do. And I think Sato's always somebody that's going to get that. Graham's always saying, I don't know if, Graham seems to be measured, but he's really confident this May. Whereas Sato always looked like, what do I need to do? Whatever I got to do, I'll try and do it. So it'll be interesting to see what their approach is tomorrow. But so will watching VK and Toulouse, because who would have thought they were going to be in the Fast 9 and no Team Penske? I mean, it does set up, for the 2 hours for NBC tomorrow, it does set up to have some pretty damn good storylines.
So tell us to close here, Robin, have you adjusted your predicted pole winner? And tell folks about what is happening tomorrow, what the setup is in terms of the sessions that are taking place. Because while the run for the pole is going to be the big highlight thing, I think most teams are actually looking forward to that afternoon practice to get in some hardcore race day running.
Yeah, I think it's 2 or 2.5 hours in the afternoon after the Fast 9 runs.
2.5.
Right? It's afterwards, Marshall, I think.
Yeah.
And so, to me, teams never get. They always say we don't get enough practice. We need more time. But I don't know. There's something too about just watching these guys. You had a good point about Pato O'Ward. His whole approach just seems more professional, and he just seems like he's kind of fallen in line with the flow of this whole thing. But I like to pat myself on the back for picking Will Power as the fastest Chevy. You didn't bring that up. Last night I said Will Power would be the fastest Chevy, and that's right, folks. He is 22nd. You heard it here first.
Sorry, I don't know if the screen went away. Alex Pillow just called. So I just, by the way, Robin, behind you saw just intrepid reporter Bruce Martin. Now all of a sudden I'm craving brisket. We should probably say goodbye so you can write more stories and I can talk to Alex and we'll do whatever the heck else we do. So, you want to send us home this time, or you want me to send us home?
I'd like to send a message and say that qualifying will be on NBC tomorrow. It's on from 1 to 3 locally here in Indianapolis Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully the people in Marshall Pruitt's area will watch it. It's going to be a hell of a shootout. There's only been one team in the history of the INDY500 that ever had the front row, and that was Roger Penske in 1988. Will Mike Andretti's team be able to pull that off tomorrow? Will Scott Dixon spoil the party? Ray Hall, Lanigan, Letterman, 2 rookies. We got like 5 big storylines. So we appreciate you guys watching Racer.com and listen to me and Marshall jabber. And thanks for reading all our stories. And we'll see you tomorrow.